Couch Classics. Sticks here.
And Ray Tune.
We're
Today,
going to talk about some stuff.
greetings,
Some good
Starfighter.
So, we're going to go over the sci-fi coming-of-age stories. The last Starfighter, which I think came out in 1984. I could be wrong. Ender's Game. The movie, which came out recently here, it's about 2 years old. The book came out in 1985. Great book. Movie was all right, but the book was fantastic. Like, you read the book and it's 10 times better than the movie. So, check it out. Anyway, we're going to talk about the movie, though, because I haven't read the book in a while. And then we are going to talk about Armada by Ernest Cline. So, let's get started.
All right, so last Starfighter is just a kid, lives in a trailer park. His future is crumbling before him. He's faced with the future of staying at community college with all of his friends that
He applied to college.
Yeah.
He got accepted to college, but he didn't get the money for his loan, so he couldn't go.
Yeah.
He was ready to leave, go out there, learn some cool stuff, and contribute to the world and have a life. And his dreams are crushed.
Yeah.
So he's stuck working as a handyman, basically, for a bunch of old, decrepit people at a trailer park in the middle of nowhere in, I don't know, maybe Southern California, Nevada. It looks like a desert wasteland.
Yeah, pretty miserable situation. He's got himself a girlfriend. Things are going all right with that, but really his saving grace is a single arcade machine that mistakenly wound up in the trailer park.
It's his way of escaping the humdrum of his life.
Yeah.
And the biggest problem is that he wants to go out and explore and grow and experience life, you know, the whole entirety of life and awesomeness that's out there. And everyone around him is just completely content.
They're trying to keep him there.
Doing their thing. Like, they're fine with staying in their little trailer park and getting drunk on the weekend and going out to the lake, and that's it. For them, there's nothing more.
Right.
And he's just crushed by that because they don't even understand why he would want to leave. What's wrong with him?
Right.
Like
what a weirdo.
Bilbo leaving the Shire. They're like, oh, Bilbo's a crazy man. So anyway.
The
Alex
arcade
Rogan.
machine. Alex. Yes. So he's playing this game, The Last Starfighter, and in which you're a pilot who flies a spaceship called a Starfighter, a Gunstar, and you defend. You're defending against an alien,
field.
Yeah.
Of energy that's set up.
There's a collection of protected planets, and there's a frontier, they call it, and it's basically an energy field around all these protected worlds, and the Kodan Armada is infringing on this field.
And they want to wipe out everyone and take over.
Because they're bad guys.
Earth happens to be inside the field, and it's part of the protected planets, even though, because we're so primitive and caveman-like, we're not allowed to be accepted into this protected alliance. We're protected by them out of our ignorance and stupidity. They're like, oh, it's okay, little puppy, we'll take care of you.
Right. And so, in the game, you're flying a Gunstar, first-person, vector graphics style, and...
It looks really cool. It actually reminds me of Star Wars Arcade. It's very similar to that.
Yeah, vector graphics.
Very cool looking.
You're shooting down these enemy spaceships, and he, one day, happens to get the high score. Breaks, 1 million points?
Yeah.
Breaks a million points.
Rolls it over, and the game, flips out and shuts down.
Yeah.
Doesn't want to work anymore. So. But he doesn't care because he just won. Everyone. Yeah. It's funny seeing, never in the history of the world would this happen except in some podunk trailer park where nothing ever happens out of the ordinary. Like, he's going to break the record, and, like, everyone in the trailer park comes to watch him. They're like, oh, Alex is going to break the record on the arcade machine. Nobody knows what's going on. They don't understand it at all. But something's happening, so they're excited about it.
It's a big deal. And he breaks a record. Everyone's like, yeah, good job, Alex. You're so cool. You beat the video game.
Man.
You still have no future, but you beat that video game. Until, all of a sudden, dude shows up in a car and is like, hey, are you Alex Rogan? Broke the record on that Starfighter machine? Yeah? Why don't you hop in the car? I've got to talk to you. Turns out that it's all real.
He's a recruiter for the Star League.
Yeah.
He gets in the car, takes off with this guy called Centauri. They fly to the Star League defense station, and he gets recruited to actually fly spaceships around and defend the protected planet's alliance from Zur and the Kodan Armada.
Yeah, so it turns out like he happens to be the most qualified person on planet Earth to pilot this thing because Centauri distributed machines around the protected systems, basically Starfighter machines, to recruit pilots. They needed pilots.
So this was a simulation to test their skills and abilities to actually fly it. Had some really cool controls on it, like the flight stick and the accelerator thing. It was really cool looking. Lots of buttons and switches and whatnot.
Yeah. Different style. Pretty cool HUD on it. So, anyways, Alex is not feeling too hot on this. He's pretty nervous. And he meets up with his I guess the Gunstar's designed where the game is you're from the shooter's position, you control the guns and everything like that, and then a second person actually flies the Gunstar. So he meets up with his pilot for the Gunstar, and they kind of take off and they're cruising around, and I guess while this happens, this whole operating base gets destroyed.
No, he didn't actually leave yet. What happens is he goes, holy crap, this is too much. I just want to go home.
I want to go home.
This isn't for me. So he flies him back, and while they're gone, the base gets destroyed.
Right, there you go. Well, that means...
base gets destroyed. Centauri ends up going back to get him because he's like, hey, there's some robot walking around that replaced him. We're mixing up this story really bad, but...
We're getting ahead of ourselves.
So there's a robot replacement that looks like Alex walking around screwing up stuff in the story. It's funny, but anyway, he gets back, bumps into him, and is like, holy crap, what are you doing here? And he's like, hey, I'm the replacement. You're not supposed to be here. So he calls Centauri up and says, hey, come back and get your robot, man. Centauri comes back, picks him up. There's all these bad guys running around trying to kill him because they found out he was the last remaining Starfighter.
Right, everyone on the operating base was killed. Yeah, the small piece of the story.
They fly back. He's the only one left. His co-pilot man's like, listen, come out with me. We'll fly around. We'll do some tests. You can think about whether or not you want to stay. So he does. He flies around, and after they're done talking about family and stuff, I guess he decides he's going to do his duty and protect Earth from the bad guys. And then he goes through and wins, of course. So, spoiler alert.
Boom. So, moral of the story, he's a nobody, plays a game, becomes really successful at it, goes and saves the whole protected planets.
Video game skills pay off in the end.
Exactly. Play video games, get good at them. You never know when it can help. When an alien will show up and
start to defend the frontier.
That's right.
Ender's Game. Different storyline. Bad guys attack Earth, wipe out millions and millions of people. They manage to hold them off. One man manages to figure it out and hold them off and kill the invading force. But they've been watching the home planet, and they're afraid these guys are coming back.
Right.
40 years goes by, and they're developing this massive army to go out and take out these bad guys. But in the meantime, they are looking for the absolute smartest people on the planet.
Right.
So they're going through all this stuff, trying to figure out who's going to be able to be the smartest tactician in the world, and it ends up being a bunch of kids. The book explains it, but since I didn't read that recently, I don't know exactly why. In the movie, it doesn't really explain anything. It's just a bunch of kids.
It's just they just decided to pick the kids. I don't know, for maybe they
say that
learn faster.
For 40 years the world has been raised on war games.
Right.
Now in the movie, there's a heavy base on these kids grew up playing video games and they're really good at the video games. I don't remember that being the case in the book. In the book, they're ridiculously smart, like genius, super genius level kids at everything that happens to have this element of war games built into it. So it wasn't as heavy emphasis on video games.
Right.
The movie doesn't really explain that. In the movie, it's just they're really good at video games or whatever.
It's basically, I mean, they're the people that the one that ends up coming in as the promising recruit is Ender Wiggin, and he's super smart with strategy, super smart with pattern recognition, all the things that might be useful. And the king of the everything, Harrison Ford, is like, this is going to be the kid. We're running out of time.
He's the master general.
Yeah. And, this is going to be it. So, Ender Wiggin. And so they go throughout the movie. He's essentially going through the final testing.
Training and all this kind of sense. He's got his little team that he's got to hang out with. Which, again, in the movie, I mean, it was a long movie, too. It was like 2 hours long. And I feel like they covered like 5 minutes of the book. It's really weird.
Really, the main parts
of it
were... The movie
looked really cool. Very cool graphics.
Yeah.
And they had really good scenes where the dialogue was really good. But I feel like you miss everything that the book is about when you watch the movie.
There's a part... Really, the basis of the movie is him going from being a potential recruit and his transformation up to being in charge of the military defense, basically. And a lot of it in the movie is based around like a physical game in zero gravity out in space where they're trying to get one team to another team's base, and a lot of the movies around that. And then his problems, he's having his own emotional problems being separated from his family, and the pressures that are coming at him from Harrison Ford and the other kids. It's a competition. He says it right off the bat.
Right from the beginning, you don't have any friends. Everyone here is your enemy.
Yeah, everyone's a competitor.
Only one is going to be the winner here.
Yeah. And it gets to the point where after he's playing these simulations, going through, working his way up, he's in charge. He's got his own team. And they're practicing, training, doing their final simulations, getting ready for graduation. And he's controlling drone ships and everything like that. He's got his whole team of people.
They did some really awesome scenes where he's like moving through the battlefield and directing like hundreds and hundreds of ships all at once in different aspects all over in three-dimensional space. Is really, really good.
Sins of a solar empire in like 30 years or something like that.
If you were in a big domed room, then you could control the entire thing around you. It was really cool. Anyway, really cool movie. Again, it's basically the same premise. You got a kid who's really good at video games, super smart. In Ender's Game, it's not like he's trapped somewhere. The entire point is that he has to succeed, and everyone's given all this pressure and stuff.
Yeah.
In Last Starfighter, it's the opposite. It's just a normal dude. He plays video games. He's good at them. He's smart.
Pushed into the position.
Wants to break free from all this stuff, but he can't. He's given an opportunity, but he doesn't see it as the opportunity that he wants. It's something weird and distant, and he's afraid. But he ends up seeing it in the end as his opportunity to get out. With Ender's Game, it's a whole different level, and there's like this deep philosophy to it, and huge deep thoughts. Like with the book, you get to go through and see all of the internal dialogue of Ender as he's going through this, and he's trying to figure this stuff out,
Yeah.
And you're thinking about it, and he's just like, he's like 10 or 12 years old, something like that.
Yeah.
Anyway, totally different storyline. Essentially the same premise, but a different story completely.
Yeah, he was basically destined, to become what he was. So I mean that's that.
From birth. Anyway, without blowing all of the story completely to hell and ruining all the spoilers, go out watch the movie. If you like it, go read the book. It's not a big book. It's thin. Much more in-depth, though, storyline. It helps explain everything that happens. I think that if you just sit and watch the movie, you're not going to understand why any of this stuff is happening, so it won't make a lot of sense. Yeah. It's cool to look at, to visualize, but all in all, I wouldn't really say it's a great movie just because the story is lacking. You don't understand any of the reasoning behind it.
Visually, it was top notch.
Visually, awesome. Yeah, and absolutely. And if you were like, if you read the book and then watch the movie, like, it'll just help with all the visuals that much more.
Yeah, I thought it was good. I liked it.
It's a good movie,
but
I'm not going to sit down and watch it, over and over again.
It's not the Wars.
It's no Starfighter, and it's not the Wars.
So
it doesn't have that kind of value. Like, I watched it in theaters when it came out 2 years ago, and haven't had any real desire to watch it again until just recently. So
yeah. So on that note, Armada.
But Armada is an homage to those style of stories.
Right.
It's
an homage to a lot of great things, but
it's written in a way, though, like, these stories, they have the things that happen, and these people involved in them live in a world where we didn't have the Wars, and we didn't have Ender's Game, and we didn't have the Lost Starfighter, It's a world where the only thing exists is their storyline. There's no reference at all to anything else that might have happened. So the way that Ernest Cline approaches this is, what if me or you, who knows all of this stuff about Star Wars and Star Trek and all these different things and all these resources, references here in our history and all the games we've played, what if we were put in the same situation?
Right.
I know for me, I've thought about it and I'd be like, if this happened, I'd be like, oh, sweet, this is just like Star Wars, or this is just like...
Exactly.
And you'd be making all these references as you go, and
you'd make your decision a lot faster.
Trying to understand it in that way, You
want to come to space and fight?
Yep. He approaches it. He would say, oh, this is just like so-and-so, or just this. So that's how he wrote it out. So the main character in Armada is coming with that background. He's got all these video games under him. He's got all the movies and the books and the comics and everything else. And he knows all of this stuff. And he uses it as he's going through this story to help deal with the situation that he's in.
Yeah.
It's very cool.
So what?
But again, generally the same character as Alex Rogan from Last Starfighter.
Right.
You got a kid, which never is spoken about, but Alex Rogan, you never see his dad or anything, and he's never mentioned at all. You just see, he's with his mom and his little brother.
And that's
you don't know. Yeah. Maybe his dad's an over-the-road trucker and he was just gone for a week.
Right.
Who knows? But he's not referenced at all, Yeah. In Armada, main character doesn't have a father. His father died when he was a little kid, and he just was raised by his mom.
Right. So time period, I would say, is like slightly above current times.
Yeah,
video games are, I would say within 10 years, 10 or 15 years. So he's grown up. His dad died. He's living alone with his mom, but his dad was a super nerd, played tabletop RPGs, had all these emulators, loved old games, loved, rock and roll, all that, just that age. His dad he grew up, playing all the old games, and he was just a super gamer, I guess you would say. Well,
arcades and everything else.
Well, he has this connection to his dad, even though he doesn't remember his dad. Still, emotionally, he has a deep connection with his dad. And at a certain age, his mother says, "I have all of his stuff. It's up in the attic in boxes. You can go through it." And he delves into basically the persona of his dad by studying all of his movies and games, and he really takes in all these different aspects of his dad's life, which included the movies and the video games and everything like that.
Not to the same extreme level as Ready Player One.
Right. It wasn't
there wasn't
a religion.
Yeah, there wasn't that drive there, but there was enough that he was just trying to reconnect. Yeah. With his lost father. So.
Yeah. So I guess.
So he's going through that kind of thing. The main game that he plays and everyone really likes to play is Armada, or was the other one Earth Defense League or something like that. So there's two separate types of game in the same world, and they kind of cross over. In one, it's like mostly ground-based and mech assault, and you got big robots running around and attacking, and the aliens are trying to invade.
That's all VR kind of stuff. It's all VR, controlling drones.
Yeah. And they mention, like, the Oculus Rift and stuff at some point. But you get special controllers just for the games. The Armada game is the air space battles. So you're flying around spaceships fighting the aliens that are in space. And that's the whole purpose of that game. And I really like the idea of having two separate types of games,
right.
both of which are considered MMOs. In the book, he talks about it. And both of them kind of interact with each other's
right.
world. It takes place within the same universe. So you've got some people that are, the Earth Defense League guys, and the other people are the Armada people. Right. But they can interact with each other, talk to each other about the different battles and stuff, because you've got a battle that's taking place and half of it's on the ground and the other half is in the sky, but it's the same battle. It's just played on two different games.
Yeah, it's alien invading Earth gameplay, defending against alien machines, and essentially, I guess, the early premise of the whole book is the main character, Zach Lightman, basically saying, this is what everyone plays, and he's got his questions about, the validity of a lot of things, like, why would, because basically the Earth Defense League is invaded by these alien invaders from Tau Ceti 4 or something like that, and throughout the battle, they've managed to acquire the technology. They've been able to backwards engineer the drone technology, the space technology, communications technology, and he kind of he puts light on the fact that, why would an alien invader let us, acquire these, but somehow it happened.
And this is kind of a nod to Ender's Game, because in Ender's Game, it was the same thing where they had attacked and then they had 40 years to catch up in technology and build a retaliatory enemy force against them and all this kind of stuff. And in Armada, it's kind of the same thing. They kind of, in the story of the game, they have the same similar storyline where these guys had attacked and they had run into them. I think we found a settlement on one of the moons, Europa, I think.
There's the big... I don't want to blow it, but they find
their
something
spaceships
on Europa
and stuff, and reverse engineering them, getting our technology caught up over 30 or 40 years.
Yeah.
Kind of the same storyline as Ender's Game, that he follows through that. And this is the back history of the game, and Zach is questioning this because it seems too convenient.
Right.
It's very convenient that this massively technologically advanced alien species who wants to kill us all just happens to let us get a hold of their technology and reverse engineer it, and then give us, 40 or 50 years to come up with the Armada to fight against them and all this kind of stuff. But he really loves the game, so he lets it slide.
Right.
And we do that.
Yeah.
We do that from time to time.
Believability is okay if it's
reality.
if it's a good game to play. And so, like, one major thing that's going on through this whole thing is the aliens are first discovered back in the late 60s, early 70s, and from that point on, I think it's like 73, 74 or something like that, if they put a number on when it was discovered. And from that point on, they start introducing things into pop culture to prepare humans for the inevitable return of the aliens. So they start releasing things like...
All this ties into real conspiracy theories.
Right.
If you look it up on the internet, like, there's people that will full on lay it out, and they have, line by line, everything that plays out, everything that's come out in movies and video games and all this kind of stuff in real life, in our world, that it's all preparing us to accept, the existence of extraterrestrials, so we don't freak out.
Right.
So he writes that into the book.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so everything Star Wars, Star Trek, E.T., all the space invading video games and movies that have come out, even like all the major astronomers and astrophysicists like Carl Sagan, they're all involved in this conspiracy to
educate humanity and bring us up into terms with.
Exactly. So, and this is another thing that, it's creepy, that for him to find out throughout this whole thing, and it turns out to be true that, in the book, there was games that were thrown out, like all the high scores, like Activision high scores and things like that, and, you used to be able to send in a picture of your high scores and you would get a pack.
You can actually still do that. There's a couple of arcades that still operate their old high score lists and keep track of it. There's websites.
Nice.
There's one, I can't remember it. I should be able to, but I can't remember. But there's at least one for sure that still does that and operates a high score list on all these games. And nowadays they have you live video record and stream your gameplay on the arcade machine while you're setting your high score. There's a really cool, if you guys watch this, there's a really cool documentary on Netflix right now, and it's called Nibbler, I think. If you type in Nibbler, it'll come up. But it's a documentary about this guy trying to reset this high score on this arcade game called Nibbler. It's very informative, pretty cool. I liked it. Lots of information that I didn't know, but you can still do this. In the old days, back in the 80s, 90s, you take a picture of your score and then just mail it in.
Yeah.
And this is how they started recruiting people to their Earth Defense Force.
Right. Military using video games to train and recruit people who have these skills.
Which
it's the theme. Which again, is happening in real life.
Atari, back in the olden days, Atari was recruited by the Army to develop a control system and whatnot for use in training our military to pilot tanks. So they had worked through and developed not only the control sticks and everything, but the gameplay for specifically training people how to simulate tank battles and things like that for the Army. Now, officially, this never went through, and that's another whole conspiracy theory involved there. A lot of people say that this continued and is still currently happening, but anyway, side note.
Yeah.
So he figures out that his dad figures this all out, writes it down in his notes. Zach reads this when he's like 10, freaks out, doesn't want anything to do with it, forgets about it.
Yeah.
Then, in Armada, like the opening chapter, Zach's sitting around in class at high school, zoned out, looking outside the window, and a freaking spaceship flies down, and he's like, "Ooh!" He's like, "Okay, I must be crazy because I play too many video games and watch too much TV."
The spaceship happens to be exactly the same as
the unrealistic part of the whole book, because it would just never happen.
Right.
If I see a spaceship outside, I'm not like, "Oh, I'm crazy." I'm like, "Sweet alien invasion!
It's on." Time to get some space guns.
But that's beside the point. So he goes back home to his house, digs into his father's old boxes again, finds his notebook, and reads through all this theory about how the government was recruiting people and all of the games and movies were leading people on to understand and accept this alien presence without freaking out.
Yeah. And everything turns out to be true. And the two biggest games that everyone's playing, Armada and Terran or something like that. Terran Defense. Look it up real quick.
It's like
losing my mind over that.
Or something like that.
So
called Tempest.
Yeah, that's what it is. Anyways, the top scorers from these two games end up being recruited to actually control drones and battle the aliens.
Ships and pick up Zach in the front of his high school. They fly in this
drop Zach Lightman.
Throw him in, and you're like, all right, you've been recruited. Come with us.
And everything goes from there. I mean, it's hard to review a book without trying to blow very much. But I mean, most of this, the stuff that we've talked about,
all about
it's within. We can't not do spoilers. You can't review a book without talking about it. But I think we've done pretty good. We're within like the first, part of the game or part of the book. So, I mean, we didn't.
It's real. Obviously, that's not a big spoiler. It's real, and he gets recruited into it to defend the Earth against this alien invasion.
If you could deduce that from us talking about the last Starfighter and then Ender's Game and then talking about a book and then it not being correlated in some way, that's a problem. But yeah, I mean, it's along the same theme. I mean, video games equals mass adventure in space.
Terra firma.
I was close. Terra firma. So Terra firma is the ground-based one, and Armada's the space-based, like, dogfighting spaceship one. and it's awesome. It's cool.
Which I really would love to see an MMO of full-on, one-on-one dogfighting spaceship battles where you, as one individual, control one single ship, and you have to coordinate with a bunch of other people, live online with their individual ships and take down enemies and do all these missions and stuff. I think it would be awesome. Then you upgrade your ship or whatever, or buy new ships, whatever, typical MMO stuff where you continually level and gain more. But I think it would be really, really, really sweet.
I think we're on the verge of that. Ground-based, and all this is in VR. The game, the Armada, Terra Firma, they're in VR, and it goes along the same theme as Ready Player One, but not that advanced of technology. But I mean, you still have a helmet sort of headset, and you see all of your virtual world through that. And I think that we're going there. I think that pretty soon we're going to be doing massive things like this. Not only we're going to be doing space battle stuff, Skyrim style stuff, but there's also going to be sandbox stuff. I mean, VR,
and FPS and all that kind of stuff is going to be
Minecraft, Terraria, anything like that. Terraria, whatever you want to call it.
I would do straight up Minecraft. Would be awesome, just with the VR. That'd be
you don't even have to change the graphics.
Just keep it the same. It'd be fun.
Ding, 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 ding.
But as we're developing the hardware for it, we've got the goggles thing, and they're big and bulky and kind of goofy. Nothing really works real well with the software and stuff yet because we're in such early stages. But with the development of these things, the next generation of hardware is going to be much more supportive of the VR stuff. You're going to have more of the motion sensor movement stuff, and they've got these really cool half circle pads so you can physically run around any direction you want. So if you're running around, your character would be moving, but you're not actually going anywhere. It takes a 4-foot square chunk of your room, but it would be dedicated to gaming. So
I mean, it would just in that sense, maybe a flight simulator would be a lot more practical because you could just sit there and you're lazy boy and use virtual controls or whatever. But they're already doing haptic gloves. The VR gloves. They're they're working on the suit.
It's all coming around.
We're getting close, and I can remember ever since I heard about virtual reality. The two of us. I mean. That's where video games need to go.
Ever since we were kids,
We've been dreaming about this kind of stuff.
It's still the same. That's where it needs to go.
Yeah, I think that's definitely the future of video games. I mean,
and Ready Player One really laid out a huge array of possibilities. They touched on all of it, but it's just a huge range of possibilities just for education alone. I mean, can you imagine going into history class and they're like, okay, let's talk about World War II.
Yeah, and you are the Battle of Gettysburg and you're looking around. Any of that
exactly
stuff.
All of this stuff happening, but you're actually there for the cost of some software and hardware for your students. I think that's definitely where things should be headed if they're not. Just the immense ability of bringing that kind of education to people, all the people that get bored listening to people that don't want to be there teach you about something that nobody wants to learn about, all that would be gone, because if it's fully interactive and you're there and you're feeling it and you're seeing it, that's how history should be taught,
Exactly. Yeah, it would just be amazing.
Just be integrated with that. It's
any sort of survival, explorer, adventure, any of that stuff in VR. I mean, just think about it, just close your eyes and imagine the potential of how awesome that would be. I mean,
they talk about, this game is so immersive this or so immersive that. Can you imagine? That would bring the level so much higher. It'd be insane.
Just current games. We can't even really think of the games that could be done, but just thinking of current games now in virtual reality, I mean.
A lot of things that we do now are what we would do as a human being or a human-like creature interacting with the world. With virtual reality, we would be able to explore experiences that we can't physically experience in a way that we could understand it. I mean, it's hard to explain, but anyway, look up the possibilities of virtual reality because they're infinite. It's awesome.
We're close.
And I think within the next 10 years, we're definitely going to see huge advancements in this area. Just within the next couple of years, we're going to see dedicated systems for virtual reality. We're going to see the different controls and things like that getting integrated. And instead of having your big giant VR goggles, you'll be able to put on something very small and light that just communicates with the system that actually does all the work, you know.
And watch, it'll be the same. It'll be military recruitment, training, all that kind of stuff like that. I mean, they're already doing law enforcement military training using video simulators, where you're firing a CO2 gun at a video simulator and it reacts to a laser that's fired out of the gun, and it reacts on the screen. I mean, it's just going to be that, but I mean, they're going to be training in real lifelike situations. I mean,
Call of Duty would be so intense.
Oh, it'd be so crazy. But I bet you're not going to have the people that are doing the jump scope shot thing, you know, just they're going to be sitting in their room like a doofus. Their mom's going to be banging on the ceiling with a broom saying, "Shut up there." And they're going all day. There's going to be over after that, but people aren't going to be able to sprint for very long in real life because, you know, you got a Mountain Dew in your lap.
That would limit it, man.
It'll change the way the game works. But
over just 2 or 3 years, gamers would go from the fat, you know, sweaty guys to really super in shape.
Like, man, you're in really good shape. You must play Call of Duty.
Yeah. I'm ranked.
I got all the gold-plated weapons and everything.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
And then the tubby guys, you must be a flight simulator. That Cheeto stains on your face.
I don't get stains on the face. I just get them stuck in the beard.
In the beard, bits and bobs in your beard. But anyways.
Armada.
Introduce you guys
Ernest
to
Cline.
some of those things.
Personally, I absolutely loved it. Again, he nods out all of the references that we've talked about. Let me explain this, because a lot of people absolutely hate this book, but they hate everything else too.
Yeah.
There's a couple different kinds of people in the world, obviously. I'm not going to point them all out or trying to explain them. I'm going to try and explain the people that would enjoy this book. People like me, like my brother, and people probably like you guys that are watching this. At some point in our lives, usually in junior high school, we're placed in situations that require us to conform to these social norms. If we don't conform, we don't fit in. So we're trying to test out these different groups, find some place where we fit in and are accepted. Some people go right into it. They're completely happy. They'll hop in. They become jocks. They conform to that. They're content with it. Life goes forward. They become cheerleaders. Or they're the super academians that just study all the time and get 4.0 grade point averages. Or, you know, emos and goths and punks and whatever else. There's a million different names. It's the same people over and over again. They just changed the name over the years. I don't know what it is right now. It's been too long. But you go through junior high, it starts to get in. The pressure gets even more in high school and into college, where you're supposed to fit into these norms. And it continues throughout your entire life, where if you were a jock in high school, you're a certain type of person afterwards. You do certain specific jobs and you hang out with certain people and you behave a certain way. Some people don't fit into any of these groups because we look at them and we go, that's dumb. I just want to be me. People like me and people like you don't want to do that. So we usually hook up with other people that are also individualists. You get a small group of people. Each of us has some similar interests, but each one of us is completely different because we have all these varied interests. These are the geeks and the nerds and the outcasts and the freaks and the ones that everyone looks at and goes, oh, who are they? They don't fit into our group, so they're not cool. Those are the people that enjoy these stories.
Yeah.
Those are the people that are looking for something better. You know, we have this specific skill set. We look at the world in a specific way. We understand things a certain way, and we're looking forward to a situation in life that is going to allow us to express these things, to grab onto something, to really show who we are and what we're capable of.
Yeah.
So, you know, there's all these different stories, you know. There's the Bilbo Baggins waiting to go on his adventure, and Gandalf shows up and says, hey, let's go, and off he runs, and he really shows his strengths and gets to experience himself, you know. It's Alex Rogan, you know. It's Harry Potter. It's Randall Thor, Luke Skywalker, Richard Cypher. It's all these characters that we love, and we enjoy these kinds of stories because we resonate with the characters.
Yep.
We're like, oh, that could be us, maybe someday our skills will, be used for this, or will be used for that, or we'll find some situation that we can, if not, go off and become a wizard, we will find some situation where we can excel with these skills and actually be able to show people, this is who I am. I didn't fit into that group because this is who I am, and it's so much more than that little tiny group could hold.
Yeah.
That's who we are, and that's who enjoys these stories. If you're not that kind of person, these stories aren't going to mean anything to you. You're just going to be dumb. Oh, it's the same story. Oh, that was just, predictable storyline. Yeah, but that's not the point.
Yeah. Don't get
the whole point is the adventure. It's the excitement.
You're not impressing anybody by dumping on everything that you find. That's easy. You can find something to complain about everything. Quit whining. There's so many awesome things. And a book like this, like Ready Player One, provides you ample opportunities to study into some of these things that are referenced. If you don't know it, if you see something,
check it out.
Research it, because it's probably awesome. And maybe it'll give you an idea. If you wrote a similar story and you were born in 1998 and not 1978, you could write the same story again and use references that the current age would understand.
And Halo and whatever else,
It could be anything. You could have the same references because it's all the same stuff that's changed, and it'd be a different book. I mean, it's filled with things that somebody likes, and check them out. Don't dump on it if you haven't. You can critique it, but I mean,
we always try and look at it and just try to understand that people pour their hearts and souls into this stuff, and maybe it's not written the way you like it, or it's not written the best way. It's not super artsy or whatever, but look at what they're trying to say. Like I really like to do that in movies. Like throughout movies, you have all these different writers and they write these movies, and they're telling stories for entertainment or whatever, but some part of that writer is in that movie or that book, and they have their own personal beliefs and philosophies and messages and, these lessons that they're trying to convey to people, to share with other people. They say, I learned this, I want to put this in there so that other people can understand it. Or this is how I look at things, so try and look at it this way. And that expands us not only as individuals, but as a race entirely. Being able to sit down in a group of 24 people, and I can sit down and talk to any individual person and find common ground with them in some way, because I've been through, in some way, I've experienced that. I've looked at it that way, so I understand where they're coming from, or I've done the similar things, or I've done something like that, or I read about this in a book, so I understand how they're feeling about it.
Right.
And the ability to do that comes specifically from all these different stories and all these different movies and stuff. If you're willing to accept that, yes, this is a story, but there's something behind it. There's
certain tools used to build the story. There. But listen to the message. Listen to it. And honestly, if you're so educated and you're so skilled that you can dump on everything that you see, create something better.
Something that you think is awesome.
Because I want to see what that is. I want to read it. I want to watch it. I want to look at the painting. I want to read the book. If this stuff is so garbage, produce the product that you think is superior, because the world needs it.
Yeah, make it. Share it with everybody. Yeah. That's what art's all about. You have to take it, create something beautiful, and then share it with people. It's a part of your soul, and that's scary, and there's all that fear involved with it. Like, what if you get rejected? But sharing it with other people is the only way that the whole humanity is going to grow, is going to move forward, and to rise beyond these caveman fighting each other stupidity nonsense that goes on. Right. Us against them mentality all over again. And that's unfortunately, because we're continuing to fight each other on this planet, our first contact with extraterrestrial life is going to be the same. It's not going to be, oh, look, something new and exciting that we'll have to understand. It's going to be, hey, look, it's them. Let's destroy them. Yeah. Down with evil alien creatures. And
they've arrived.
Just be cruising around looking for new creatures and writing it down in their logbooks. We don't know. But we we're going to throw nukes at them before we find out. That's the problem.
It's going to be the people
that are rise beyond that.
I've reviewed this, and I'm not impressed.
I'm not impressed. So let's blow it up. I'm not going to blow it up personally, but he's going to.
I'm just going to complain about it. Yeah. Anyways, we have to leave you guys on that. It's awesome.
The world is an infinitely awesome place.
Yeah, check it out. It's amazing.
Just gotta look at it. Like, open your eyes and look at it. Like you did when you were a little kid.
Yeah.
When you're walking down the street and everything is new and exciting. Like, oh, look, a bug. I've never seen that bug before. You don't even have a name for that bug, but it's a cool bug. Look at all the colors, And your mind's like, come on, we gotta go. And you're like, yeah, but this cool bug I just discovered. Check it out.
Look at this. Check it out. Yeah, bugs are stupid. Yeah, thanks.
Icky, splat. But yeah, try and look at the world that way.
Yeah, everything is interesting if you want it
Absolutely
to be.
Everything is awesome.
Sucks if you want it to suck.
Unfortunately. Anyway, thanks for checking us out again.
Yeah. Watch our other videos. We got some other videos on there. Yeah.
Yeah, check out all their stuff if you like this one. Obviously, we're going to have a whole lot more of this and other stuff coming out in the future. Like the video, thumbs up, thumbs down if you hate us and you think you can do better, go create it and then let me know because I want to check it out.
Yep. We're going to throw up a new intro picture, the Couch Classics logo. This is a temporary between where we were with
process.
Right, but we've got something really, really rad that's going to be happening. It takes time. So, guys,
we got a badass
watch the evolution
that is rendering some awesome stuff for us.
Yeah.
It's going to be amazing. Can't wait for it to be done.
So, it'll happen.
But keep checking us out. We're going to keep growing and have fun and stuff. Check us out on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Subscribe, like, hate us, whatever. Comment. Let us know how much we suck. We don't care. Whatever you guys want. We'll catch you later, though.
Yep. Bye, guys.